Hello everybody, hope you're doing well, and at the time of recording this video, Merry Christmas. And today I'm going to be doing something quite different for you guys. We're not going to be doing anything music focused. Instead we're going to be actually focusing on video games, and I'm going to be showing you my current gaming collection. I'm going to be Christmassy and not actually wear a Santa hat because I can't find one, so literally I'm going to get a stocking and just kind of works, doesn't it? Yeah. So yeah, first off guys, I'm going to be actually showing you how I store my video games before actually showing you what I own.
So you'll notice here, this is the absolutely famous wall where I usually put my seat and do my amazing reviews. Well, what you don't see is if I just tilt this to the left, we have a door, a very special door. And this is where I keep all of my game related stuff, right in here. Cozy little place. This isn't all gaming related stuff. This is all my Blu-rays, which I would love to talk about someday. So that's all my Criterion. It's unrelated, but maybe I'll get to that one day. So they're Blu-rays, DVDs, but this is the gaming related stuff. There's Kirby having a little nap. That's Mario, I found him for 50p. I think he waves or something. Hello, it's a me Mario! Yep, they don't need anyone else to voice the new Mario movie, should have got me, I was perfect. And here's some other guys just hanging about. There's Mario again. There's a Goomba with a Wii Fit sweatband on his head for a hat, why not? That's why he's looking pissed off, because he does not want that on his head. Kirby! A good lad. There's Yoshi, found him for like £1. And this was an amazing find at a charity shop for £1.50. There's me mate II from Super Monkey Ball. I mean, look at that, he's even got this one little backpack. I think, looking at this came in some sort of like crane game that you would have to play over in like a Sega London sort of gaming, arcade or something. And for whatever reason, over 15 years later, he made it to some random charity shop, and he's now going to stay here. Good lad. So that's some consoles which I'll talk about later. But this is where I keep mainly the retro stuff that I want to try and keep sealed so it's free from the majority of, dust and stuff like that. Everything that I have opened is in some, some protective plastic case, so it doesn't matter as much. So if I open this, Master System games live here. Behind them, if I just go like that, well, you can't see, but like that, you can see Quackshot, those are Mega Drive games, kind of neatly put in the back. Mega CD, Sega CD stuff, and then loose Mega Drive and Master System games live at the back there. If we go further down, this is my massive collection of Nintendo 64 stuff. Behind the loose 64 stuff is SNES things there. These are NES games here. And then these are the box stuff. So these are NES games, Super Nintendo games, Nintendo 64. Here's some Amiibo. I don't collect Amiibo, even though it looks like I do. I literally just found these just randomly in different areas. I've never bought like an Amiibo brand new or anything. Like charity shop. I think I got this at CEX. And this I got really lucky with, because I got that in a market and the guy just thought it was like from Alien. He thought it was just like a little alien statue, like from the movies. And it was £2, so that was alright. Down here, loose Game Boy games. DS, 3DS stuff. These are the consoles, as in, consoles, like handheld stuff. This is the boxed Game Boy Advance SP Travel Edition, which is the childhood definitive cherished thing for me. And most people think it's corny, it's like your typical trying to be cool 2000 sort of thing, but I'm sorry, that is childhood for me, that Game Boy Advance SP. story goes that I had it for so long, and I went on a holiday in Greece, I think, and while we were out having a meal, me and my parents, there was suddenly like a massive thunderstorm, and there was like a panic, and they said, right, everyone hurry up and basically leave. And I left my Game Boy Advance SP, and then it's still a while ago, about 10 years, probably longer, I picked that up before the whole boom happened of raising prices for like £25. So I'm happy to have that sort of back. I got him for £1, a little Mega Man thing. I see loads of people with game collections have this specific thing. I don't know why, no idea, but I just found him just out in the open randomly. And this little guy I found also in a charity shop, Gengar. I built it, and it was such a pain in the arse to build, honestly. Like, I know I haven't really touched Lego or Meccano or anything like that for, you know, ages and ages, but this was so hard to put together. You can see how like intricate the little pieces are, and honestly it took us like ages to put together, because you can see how like there's like levels to it. You'd have to like build a level and just literally not put them together, like stick them together. You would just have to like put them like that, like there you go, and then you'd have to carefully put them on top of each other, and if you knocked it just slightly, you would just be like, I have no idea what I'm doing, and you'd have to start all over again. I think on the 5th attempt I got like 3 layers in, and then I was like, right, okay, I can now easily put them all together. But he was a pain. He was a pain in the ass. A little Goomba. I can't remember where I got these guys from, but it was one of those sort of like Hot Wheels sort of things where you can... Bloody hell, Yoshi, you don't have to go that fast. I think it's just the carpet. I don't know. Anyways, here is, oh sorry, just there, those are box Game Boy Advance games. Again, you'll see them a bit later. These are SD cards, so those are for my 3DS, so just for space and stuff. So things I've bought in the 3DS eShop, I just change them out. I've tried to make it like a theme, so one of them are all like RPG games, like Etrian Odyssey and stuff is on one, and then another one's just like odds and ends like I used to have on the DSi that I've moved on to them. So it's just stuff like that. This is cool, I've always liked this, I've had this for ages. So my mate Luigi, who's clearly better than Mario, this is like a DS case thing. This is pretty hard to put together, so I'm going to literally put this between my legs. So I hold it here, and what you do is obviously you open it, and there's the DS games. But if you keep folding it like that, then you can have Mario. But no, we want Luigi. So there you go. We'll have Luigi instead. So I still to this day don't know how it works. I've almost wanted to pull it apart, but nah, that would be stupid. And my favourite thing probably here is this really nice box. Mum, decades ago, hand drew this, and I can't remember what she used it for. And it's been given to me, and this is where I keep my Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance and Loose DS and 3DS game. So yeah, I love this. So there they are, that's where they live. And it's just a really nice little case to put them together. Again, keeps them away from dust, and it just fits nice and snug just in there. There we go. Nice one. Massive Pac-Man, I got him for a £5. He's like a light and he lights up, and makes like sound effects and stuff. They're Xbox games, a ridiculous amount of 360 games behind them, and a load of Wii games as well. And then on the other side, which just isn't as exciting, next to where I keep my CDs, is just a bunch of Gamecube, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PS3, just basically everything else. So let's get more in depth into what I have. So there you go guys, that is how I keep my video games, and you know, I've always wanted to do another video game collection video like this, and you're thinking another one? Yeah, over 10 years ago on an older channel I did do a video game collection video, and oh my goodness, if you think this is low quality, check out this.
posters from the Nintendo 64 and a SNES poster, which is quite fun to look at.
Oh my god, you can't even see anything. I may as well just be saying, oh yeah, I've got like Snatcher, I've got Symphony of the Night right here. You might not be able to see, but I do, I promise I've got it here. You know, it's just ridiculous. Now, I'm debating how I can actually order this video, because originally I was actually just going to show you them in order of what I started collecting for first, which like console and the games that I had. But I thought, you know, there's probably going to be people out there who aren't going to watch all of this video, so why not just kind of do it in some sort of order? So for now, I'm going to stick with Nintendo. I was always a Nintendo guy. When I was a kid, I grew up on the Game Boy Advance, and I had a Wii when it first came out, and I collected a few Gamecube games on it as well, but obviously a lot of Wii games too. So yeah, I started as a Nintendo kid, obviously, and my interests have grown since then, but my heart's always been with Nintendo. So why not just show you Nintendo stuff? I'm going to start obviously with the Nintendo Entertainment System. So this here is my Nintendo Entertainment System. Out of all of the other Nintendo consoles that I own, this was actually the latest console that I picked up. And of course it's a classic and everything like that, but I always debated myself whether or not I was interested in getting this thing. Obviously I have a Nintendo Switch and there's plenty of NES games that are on there, but at the same time I just thought, am I really interested in really early games? I even remember as a kid, like, I was debating whether or not to get an NES when they were much more affordable. In fact, you know, I'm really kicking myself. I remember going on eBay probably like 7 or 8 years ago and seeing for like £100 the full classic set where they would come with Rob the Robot and stuff, but that's just when I didn't have money, you know, so it's just the way it is. But again, I was just like, I'm not interested in the games and blah blah blah, but obviously, you know, there's a lot of classics. And there's some that are some of my favourite games ever, really. So yeah, I'll show you the games that I own. Last few things I'm going to say before getting into these. First thing, apart from a couple here and there, I really don't like collecting games that are just a novelty and I know that they're rubbish. I want to play games that I know are good. There might be like 1 or 2 in the entire collection that I got it just because I've heard it's notoriously bad, but I would have not paid a lot of money for it because it's just ridiculous. Some of the prices, like I say, bad games are going for, as well as older classic ones. So yeah, you won't see a lot of them. So the vast majority of these games I've gotten because they will appeal to me in some form or another, and they're not in an ironic way. And second thing, because there's quite a lot of games I'm going to be going through, I'm not going to go into detail at all. I'll probably give you like a sentence and that's about it. But if you would like to post in the comments section any games that I'm showing that you haven't heard of before and you'd like to know a bit more details and my thoughts on them, or if there's just games that come up that you already know that you really like or you dislike and you're like, why have you got that? Then again, just let us know and I'd be happy to respond. Alright, so here we go then. NES games. Batman, a really good licensed movie video game for the NES. Bugs Bunny's Birthday Blowout, a very average platformer. DuckTales, classic platformer. I love platformers, by the way. Maniac Mansion, a classic point and click adventure, and it's basically like a black comedy as well, pretty cool. Power Blade, an underrated platformer, sort of action-packed as well. It's got a mix of sort of Ninja Gaiden and Mega Man in this, only quite easier, but really good. Classic Punch-Out, classic. Kabuki Quantum Fighter, this is a really cool game. I almost kind of look like the character actually, because the character's main attack is using massive red hair as a whip, so that's pretty cool. Shadow Warriors, that's what we call Ninja Gaiden, because I think, do you know why I think it's called that? I think it's called that because they're using the word ninja was probably offensive to people, and I say that because, well, you'll notice soon enough. You'll notice soon enough. A very beat up copy of Super Mario Brothers mixed with Duck Hunt. It works, so I'm not really bothered. Super Mario Brothers 2. And Super Mario Brothers 3 with a kind of beat up manual as well. Now the reason why I was saying that before is I've got a copy here of what many people know as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, But oh no, we called them Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. And I'm fairly certain we've done that because Ninja was just considered too violent for the kids. And I think that's also why we're called Ninja Gaiden Shadow Warriors over here. That's just my interpretation, my thoughts, but I'm pretty sure that's why we've done that. For my boxed NES games, I own Mega Man 3, Kickle Cubicle, a really cool sort of puzzle platformer, Fax Anadu. This is a lot like The Legend of Zelda 2 Link's Awakening, but more of that sort of high fantasy action sort of stuff. Really cool game. And Shadowgate, which again, kind of like Mania Mansion, is like a point and click adventure, but this is a lot more horror themed, so really cool games. Yeah, I own just one NES controller, and also I forgot to say too, I do not own a CRT TV, as whatever they're called, and the reason for that is space, and I might bring that up a few times. I don't have the space for something like, I don't have the space for a TV where the back of it is bigger than the TV in screen. I don't have the space for that. It just wouldn't fit on my desk. The TV that I've got, they work perfectly fine. I'm not a person who really knows all about, there's a massive input lag on this sort of thing. All the games I've played fine. Even Punch-Out, which is quite notorious, and people say, oh, you need to own a CRTV to play like it. I've played it with no issue really. So again, maybe as if I got my own place, I'd get one, but I'm in no rush. I'm fine with what I've got. So that's the NES games. Now moving on to my Super Nintendo. I've had this for a very long time now. I absolutely adore the Super Nintendo. I love 2D based graphics, and there's some SNES games, SNES games I've always called them, I think just look absolutely beautiful. I think that's just when it started getting to a point where like the graphics were actually getting really cool. And you get to the sort of next generation where it just looks really blocky and stuff, but honestly some Super Nintendo games, as well as other 16-bit consoles, they just still hold up really well, much better than quite a lot of next generation platforms like the Nintendo 64 and stuff like that. But yeah, I love the Super Nintendo. It's got some of my favourite games of all time on this thing, and here are some of the games that I own. Any apologies, I thought I had these in alphabetical order, but they're just kind of mixed matching all over the place, and you can imagine I'm trying to pull them out, and yeah, so they're not in perfect order, but these are my loose SNES games. Oh my goodness. Here we'll go with an absolute childhood classic. Donkey Kong Country, and absolutely in top 3 video games of all time, Donkey Kong Country 2. Absolutely amazing. Pluck. And yeah, this is in German. It says PAL version, but it's in German. And I just can't have that. I'm gonna have to get rid of this version because not only is my German like terrible, but how am I supposed to understand the Pluck storyline if it's in German? I need to know what happens to Pluck. Shame. Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Haven't played this yet, so I'm well looking forward to that. Link to the Past. Super Mario World. Magical Quest featuring Mickey Mouse. I'm a huge Mickey Mouse gaming fan. You'll see that quite a lot when it comes to the Sega stuff. I haven't played this one yet, but looking forward to it. Pilot Wings. Simple enough game, but pretty cool. There's Donkey Kong Country 3. Strange one. I still really like it. Mario Paint. I've got the mouse and the little mouse board down there somewhere. Wario's Woods. This is an interesting one. So this is like a puzzle game, and it was the last NES game to be released officially by Nintendo, but they also made an SNES version. And for some reason, on the Switch, for example, they have the NES version playable, but not the SNES version. Quite strange, but this goes well with my WiiU collection. I'm a big WiiU fan, so I expect a lot of other WiiU games coming up. And even though it should just be called, Zombies Ate My Neighbours, we've just got zombies. Great. who thought of that? Zombies ate my neighbours? Nah, just zombies. Just call it zombies. Who's making these name changes, man? Weird. Starwing, can't forget about Starwing, aka Star Fox, or I don't even know anymore. Why UK? Why do you keep changing the title? Now my boxed SNES games. Coming up is the hardest game that I've ever beaten on expert difficulty. Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Great game, but wow. It's hard. Vegas Stakes. I don't know what it is, but I love the aesthetics of casinos, and as far as I know, this is supposed to be the best casino gambling video game ever made. Unless you're counting the little sections in Fallout New Vegas and, you know, just where it's featured here and there in other games. Like, in terms of full casino games, this is the best. And you can also use the Super NES mouse with it as well, so it's not just Mario Paint I can use that mouse with, it's also Vegas Stakes. Awesome. This is a childhood classic for me as well, Super Mario All-Stars. I used to go to what we call the Breakfast Club. Not the Breakfast Club you're thinking of, just a Breakfast Club when I was in primary school. And even though they didn't have a Nintendo 64 or anything like that, for some reason I had a Super Nintendo, and I used to play this all the time, so I absolutely love this. And a pretty rare one now, but I got it just back again when the prices weren't extortionate. Super Castlevania 4, another excellent game. Now let's move on to probably one of my favourite consoles of all time. Yes, I'm talking about the Nintendo 64. And even though I was putting down the sort of 3D graphics that came out around this time, I don't know what it is, just I absolutely adore the Nintendo 64. It's one of my favourite consoles ever. And people, you know, the controllers aren't the best. I've had some right fun dismantling some of my Nintendo 64 controllers and trying to make the joysticks operable. God, that was such a mess. But despite that, there's masterpieces on this console, and there's a lot of 3D platforms that came out around this time, and platform games 2D and 3D are some of my favourites. And again, I think this was actually the first retro console that I ever bought. So again, I've just got a massive attachment to the Nintendo 64, and it can be seen in the amount of Nintendo 64 games I have as well, compared to NES, SNES, like all the other sort of retro consoles and games I've collected. The biggest amount for a retro console is easily the Nintendo 64. Probably down to the fact that I've had it the longest, but at the same time I just love the system so much. Let's start off with, I think, the first game I got for the system, GoldenEye, classic. Ocarina of Time, amazing game. Lilith Wars, aka Star Fox 64. Snowboard Kids, great fun. I would like to get Snowboard Kids 2, but quite expensive. Mario Kart 64, one of my favourite games of all time. It's my favourite Mario Kart game. I absolutely adore this game. Speaking of loving stuff, you gotta love the glove, Glover. Chameleon Twist. Chameleon Piss. I haven't got Chameleon Twist 2. Chameleon Piss Poo. Space Station Silicon Valley, another 3D platformer. Basically the successor to GoldenEye, Perfect Dark. Banjo-Kazooie, you know, classic 3D platformer. Waverers 64, pretty fun game. I've yet to play this one, Banjo-Tooie. Some people say it's way better than the first one, some people say it's way worse. I'm looking forward to playing it and make my own decision. Bomberman Hero. This is a lot different to the typical Bomberman stuff, whereas most of it's kind of like an arcadey action sort of thing. This is actually a full 3D platformer. I'd love to get Bomberman 64, that's also supposed to be quite similar and supposed to be really good too, but one day I will. I've yet to play this, but I've heard this is a really cool game which just doesn't get a lot of love, sadly. Rocket Robot on Wheels. 3D platformer, supposed to be really cool. And it's a rocket. It's Rocket, the robot on wheels. Like, come on. You gotta love that. Pokemon Snap. Pilot Wings 64. This is a really weird game. You can like shoot people out of cannons and just basically kill them, and that's the name of the game. So cool. Mischief Makers. Now this is a cool one because this is a platformer, but it's actually 2D platformer. So because of that, and it's on the Nintendo 64, it means that the graphics are amazing. Like they're so good, and it's a really cool game. And now for the box Nintendo 64 games, which I have quite a few. Of course, we can't forget about Super Mario 64, absolute classic. Ooh, yet to play this actually, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. I'm really looking forward to this. To people who've played it, would you say this is like Halloween sort of themed? Would you say it's like suitable for that sort of era? Because I've got plenty of games to tidy us over until waiting to the sort of autumn period. It feels like it should be a game played around then, so if not, then I might play it sooner, but I've always felt that that game deserves to be played in the sort of autumn time. Mario Tennis, because why not? Oh, Yoshi's Story, a cute little 2D platformer, a bit like Mischief Makers, where the graphics still hold up really well. Diddy Kong Racing, I've actually yet to play this one, but I'm really looking forward to it because there's people out there, I don't know if they're just trying to be quirky and unique, but say it's actually better than Mario Kart 64, so I'm interested in that. So Diddy Kong Racing. Speaking of the Kongs, this is Donkey Kong 64, a huge 3D platformer that, again, some people absolutely hate and think that killed the 3D platformer interest as people knew it, and then other people say it's totally underrated. I'll have to replay it because I got this again quite early on in the days of when I was collecting the 64, and maybe it's just sort of nostalgia for me, but I really enjoy this game. But I never completed it because it's a huge game, so I'll go back to it and hopefully it's not a rose-tinted glasses sort of thing. F-Zero X, excellent game. And that's all my Nintendo 64 games. So obviously I'm missing classics, but the ones that I'm missing really that are known as essential games they're just too expensive. I love like Paper Mario and Conker's Bad Fur Day, but the prices are just ridiculous, you know. And there's a few games here and there that I still like to collect, like Tonic Trouble, Mystical Ninja, but honestly, Paper Mario, I'm not joking you, like the prices for that nearly go for £200. Just not happening. But yeah, so that's the 64 stuff. So what we've got next? Oh, the Gamecube. Now the Gamecube, I'm not going to go up and show you it because I don't own a Gamecube. Like I say, I've always had the Wii, and because it's, you know, you can play Gamecube games on it, I've never really felt the need. Now, there basically is two reasons why someone would own a Gamecube, other than forgetting a third reason, making one up as they're not having a Wii. But the two reasons would be for aesthetic purposes, just to say that they own a Gamecube, which, fair enough, I suppose. Aesthetic reasons is why people might actually just collect video games in general anyways. But the main reason would be for the Game Boy Advance player, which is an add-on for the Gamecube where, as the name would suggest, you can play Game Boy Advance and older games on it. And it's just a thing I've just never been that interested in. Like, I like the idea of just playing it on the original hardware. And again, if it's that sort of thing where, oh, you can kind of blow it up and play it on your TV, well, just emulate it, and then you can just do the same thing, basically. It's not like you're playing it with the original controller anyways, because you'd be playing it with the GameCube controller. So, yeah, not something I'm interested in. And the Game Boy Player, whatever it's called, is ridiculously expensive, so, no. I like the GameCube, I like how it looks. I had a few friends and a cousin who used to own a GameCube, so I like seeing them about, but I'm just not that interested in using my own money to pay a decent amount for a GameCube just to have it. I'm more than happy to just have a Wii. So, anyways though, that doesn't mean I don't have GameCube games. I've got quite a few, and here they are. Now the games are getting easier and easier to pick up. These should actually be in alphabetical order, so that's good. Alright, GameCube, amazing system, underrated for its time. and again just has a load of classics. GameCube has always interested me because it seemed to be like the last time when Nintendo wanted to actually compete with Microsoft and Sony to try and make like the best looking games, because GameCube technically was like the best in regards to the graphics. So like if there's like a game that was cross-platform, most people go for the GameCube version because usually it's the best version. But yeah, Nintendo just kind of gave up on that. I mean, could you guys imagine if like the next system after the Switch is just like, we're going to do what we did with the GameCube, we're just going to basically not mess about, we're just going to make like a system that can play in 4K and just like the graphics are just impeccable. Like, that would be so awesome. They'll not do it, I know they wouldn't, but yeah, they don't want to get involved in the competition, I get it, but that'd be amazing if they just done that. But there you go. We'll see what they do next time, eh? And you know, the Switch, when did that come out? 2017? They're due soon, aren't they, for a new console? I mean, lots of people are saying, oh no, they'll not release one because it's doing so well still, but I have a feeling this, next year, 2023, we're probably going to hear about something. Who knows though? So then, anyways, my GameCube games. I love 3D platformers, as I said, so I had to get this one, which is still only on the GameCube. Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. I remember seeing this advertised all the time on like Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network and stuff, and I always thought, oh, this looks cool, it's by the people who made Sonic. And it totally flopped, but never mind. It's supposed to be a really cool game though. This is probably one of the rarer games that I own, because just look at it. Dosh and the Giant. It's what you call a god game, a god simulator, and you get to play as that guy, and who doesn't want to play as that guy? He's just a good lad, isn't he? He's a good lad. Eternal Darkness. This is a beloved game that's still only on the GameCube. It's like a survival horror action game. I liked it, but there was a few things I was mixed on, but it'll take a long time to go on it. Overall, I did enjoy it though. This next one is an amazing game, one of my favourite GameCube games, F-Zero GX. This is when Sega and Nintendo finally properly united and made an amazing game. This game is just a testosterone builder. You've got to play this. It's ridiculously hard, but it's so addictive. It's just fun. It's arcadey fun. It's so fun. Love that game. Wind Waker, I've yet to play this one, but looking forward to it there. Luigi's Mansion, one of the first games released on the GameCube, and you've got to love your bro Luigi, so have to own that. Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, it's the only Mario Golf game I own. I'm thinking of maybe getting one of the handheld Mario Golf games, because they're actually like RPG games, if you didn't know about that, which is quite interesting, and they're supposed to be really cool. But yeah, I'm happy in terms of a proper console version to own this one, which is supposed to be one of the best Mario Golf games. Mario Kart Double Dash, really good game. I haven't played it for absolutely ages, so I need to probably try it again in regards to thinking of where I would rank Mario Kart games. But from what I remember, I did really enjoy it. Metroid Prime, this was the first GameCube game I ever picked up. Got this for like £2, and it's been so long since I played it. And I was so like first-person shooters sort of thing, that just was not me. So I really need to try this again. And afterwards, I will have to try Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. Not too far afterwards. This is Neighbours from Hell. What in the hell is this? This is like a point and click adventure sort of game where basically the whole objective is just to be an arsehole to your neighbour. So you basically get this sort of, imagine a dollhouse like cut in half and you can see everything. And you basically just see your neighbour just walking about, and you just have to piss him off, like set booby traps up and stuff like that, and you get more points as it goes on. I guarantee you, if you're a fan of a guy called Delphi, who used to do a lot of sort of trolling on Team Fortress 2, all he ever done was use sound effects and music from Neighbours from Hell, and I think a lot of like YouTubers have used stuff from here, so there's most likely you'd actually recognise quite a lot of the music from here. It sounds like some sort of dodgy late 80s, early 90s game show. But it's a fun game though, very unique. Resident Evil 0. This is a prequel basically to all the Resident Evil games. Quite a notorious game because there's a few mechanics in here that a lot of people do not like. But I've yet to play it, so I can't really say anything about that. But I will, play it at some point. And speaking of Resident Evil, we've got what many consider one of the great survival horror games of all time, the remake of the first Resident Evil. So that's a classic. SSX3, I just picked that up randomly actually. I don't know if I'll keep it. The reason why I'm not wanting to keep it so much is because the tricks that you can do on this game, it's quite limited on the Gamecube version because you actually do the tricks with the shoulder buttons. And because of that, other platforms like the PlayStation 2 version of this game, for example, obviously has the L1, L2, R1, R2 buttons to be able to do tricks. And because the Gamecube controller only has Z, it means that they've got rid of most of the tricks you can do on the Gamecube version. So maybe I might change it with the PS2 or the Xbox version, so who knows. But for now it's in the collection. Super Mario Sunshine, I've still yet to play this one, but I'm looking forward to it though. This, when I was saying Majora's Mask feels like a Halloween sort of autumnal sort of thing, I need to play this in the summer. Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2. Classic games by Sega. Oh, this is a childhood game for me, Super Smash Bros. Melee. This is how I discovered my mate Ness. Who did I used to play as all the time? Ness and Peach. And when I do still play Smash Ultimate, I play Daisy actually. But those are who I stick with. Yeah, and Ice Climbers, I used to play as Ice Climbers quite a lot. And Luigi. Yeah, anyways. Beautiful Joe, this is a weird one. This was actually later released on the PS2, but this and 2, as in Beautiful Joe 2, were originally exclusives to the Gamecube. It was a deal that Capcom done with Nintendo to say they're going to release certain games like Resident Evil and other games that I don't own but have on like the PC and stuff. Anyways, rambling on, I only own the first one, but this is like a comedy, action, beat 'em up sort of hybrid, but it's a fun game. Here's some more Wario related stuff, WarioWare Inc. This is basically a dodgy version of the Game Boy Advance game, but it's like basically a 4-player version. So it's more streamlined, it doesn't have as much personality, but there's stuff exclusive to the Gamecube version that's on here. So yeah, it's weird because it's literally just got Game Boy Advance graphics on a Gamecube. They haven't like updated the graphics or anything, so it's a weird one, but it's still a fun one. And speaking of Wario again, Wario World, a 3D platformer made by Treasure, not Nintendo, but it's Wario, come on. Imagine that, it's like you're spending like 50-60 quid on a game. Why doing that? It's Wario! Oh yeah, fair enough, fair enough. I mean, you could have just bought some food or something like that, that's a bit more important, but it's not actually, you need Wario. One thing I also need to show you guys is the peripheral that was released around the Gamecube, and it's a one that again that my cousin used to have with Donkey Konga, and I've always wanted to get some Donkey Konga bongos, and for some reason I've just had it in my head for years. Oh, I'll see some in the charity shop, I'll find them for like 2 quid, because everyone used to have them, didn't they? No, that's not how it works. But in a local video game retro store that's near me, I managed to find this, which is a box of not only the bongos but also Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, which is a great game that utilises bongos. And when I found this, I was so happy because like even though I did sometimes see people selling the bongos, they were just always in like quality, like you could tell they were like used a lot. But this, I mean, as soon as I'm pulling it out, it smells new, and there they are. And I'm so happy that I've got like Donkey Konga bongos that are just like in brilliant condition. There you go. Like, usually you see that and it's like really yellow, but this is in really nice condition. Now inside here obviously is Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, which again just fantastic condition. The disc just doesn't look like it's been used at all, just spotless. And yeah, of course there's the use of the bongos, but it also means that I can pay tribute to the greatest video game reviewer of all time too.
Look at me, I'm Donkey Kong!
Look at me, I'm Game Dude! Okay, anyways, so this is now going to be my Wii collection. Here is the Wii, the same one that I've owned since Christmas 2006. And this little beauty has just been with us for so long, and I absolutely adore the Wii. Yeah, so much shovelware on here, I know that, but again, there's just so many classics that were released on here. And other games too, where recently I've kind of discovered that I just think are really underappreciated. But if you don't like the control system on here, that's totally fine. Obviously you have to be quite active. It's not like you can just kind of sit down and just play, unless you have like the classic controller or something. But when you're in the sort of standing up mood, then you've got to love the Wii. And here are some of the Wii stuff I have. I've got a lot of Wii stuff here, so we'll try and get through it quite quickly. Another Code R. This is a sequel to a point-and-click adventure that was originally on the DS. Dewey's Adventure. Aww. Donkey Kong Country Returns. LEDs. They look like a good bunch of lads. Endless Ocean. Endless Ocean 2. More Mickey. Epic Mickey. Childhood classic. Excite Truck. Awesome game. House of the Dead 2 and 3. The Last Story, much like Xenoblade Chronicles and another game coming up. This was in high demand and were originally released on the Wii quite late into its lifespan, and still for now only exists on the Wii. But a really good JRPG. Ivy the Kiwi, or should I say Ivy the Kiwi? Question mark? Why is it got a question mark on it? You'll have to play the game to find out. It's like a puzzle game, really underappreciated. I loved this. This was so fun. Graphics on it are just gorgeous, and music's amazing. Love it. Don't know why this is here, because it should be in order so far, but never mind. Sonic Colors. Wow, I played so many crap Sonic games originally. I owned Sonic and the Secret Rings when it first came out. I played the Wii version of Sonic Unleashed, and that was terrible. I've yet to play this, but this is supposed to be really good. I know it was remastered or whatever, remade for the Switch and other platforms, but I've heard it's not supposed to be that much better, so whatever. This is a really dodgy fighting game, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, which is probably my favourite cartoon, other than Nebbie's Ed and Eddie, ever. So just finding that they made a game version of this amazing TV show, and it features the voice acting as well, I had to own it. I really hated the rabbits from Rayman Raving Rabbits, but I had a lot of fun with Rabbits Go Home, which is a ridiculous 3D platformer, and it's just really cool. Yeah, look into this if you were like me and hated them. I actually had a good game. We've yet to talk about Kirby, so here's two Kirby games. Kirby's Adventure, which is known as Kirby's Return to Dreamland, I think, everywhere else, and Kirby's Epic Yarn. Koro Rimper, doesn't this look cute with those little friends? This is like a marble sort of game that you use the Wii remote, and it's cute and it's fun. Another classic for me, Twilight Princess. I've yet to play this actually, but I've heard this is like a really underappreciated game. Little King Story. I've noticed that it's by the guys Rising Star Games, who I think are mostly known for making sort of bullet hell games. So the fact that they made this, which is almost like I think it's supposed to be like an RPG sort of game, like a strategy sort of thing. Interesting, but it's supposed to be really good. Mad World, an over-the-top gory game, action game. That's supposed to be really good. Marbles Balance Challenge. Remember that other game I showed you with the cute little balls? This is basically a sequel. And this also uses the Wii balance board, which I do own. That's kind of up there somewhere. So whilst I don't own Wii Fit, this is a way I can actually use the balance board by playing it with this, because this apparently boasts 100 levels that are only designed for the balance board, so that'll be fun or annoying. Mario Kart Wii. Childhood game this. yeah. A lot of people dislike it. I think it's probably rose-tinted glasses, but I loved it. I remember seeing this Mario game advertised everywhere and thinking, well, this looks so badass. Mario Strikers Charge Football. Football, okay? God. Metroid Prime 3. New Super Mario Bros. Wii. I mean, I beat it and everything like that, and it is a good game, but oh my god, those new Super Mario Bros. Games where every soundtrack in it had to go, like, made that noise. Bloody annoying. And oh, how quirky are we would get the Koopa Trooper to sort of do a little dance every time I went, it's just irritating. It's like, the DS one does it, the Wii one does it, and the Wii U. I mean, it's the third time we're doing it. Is it getting old? Nah, we'll do it again. It's like, piss off. This is still sealed, so I'm debating whether or not to keep it sealed, because it might be one of those games that shoots up in prices because it just looks like one of those games. A Puna? Or Puna? Okay. When I was talking before about that game, The Last Story, being sort of linked with Xenoblade Chronicles being one of those JRPGs that was in demand to be actually released from Japan and be brought over to countries like here in America, this was the other one, Pandora's Tower. I'm not too much into the new play controls, which was basically what Nintendo done, where they basically revamped Gamecube games and brought them over to the Wii with the use of Wii motion controls. Not big onto that, but I had heard from quite a few people that the Pikmin games were supposed to be actually better using the Wii remote, so that's why I own Pikmin on the Wii and Pikmin 2 on the Wii as well. Poker Park. Anyone know about Poker Park? The sort of Pokemon spin-off thing where it's just supposed to be just a lot of, well, not rubbish, but just like, just relaxing. So it's supposed to be just kind of chill sort of stuff, and it's got me mate Oshawott. Like, come on, I've got to get that. Somewhere I've got the first Poker Park. I don't know why it's not here. Punch Out. Yeah, sort of a sequel to. Well, there was a Super Punch-Out game actually for the SNES, but I think this is supposed to be like a sequel to the original NES game. And what makes this cool as well is this is actually a game that also uses the Wii balance board. You can actually use it to sort of duck and stuff, so yeah, that's pretty cool. Sin and Punishment, successor of the Skies. This is another sort of cool kind of shoot 'em up game. This is a sequel to a game that was Japan only actually, that was released on the Nintendo 64. I'm debating whether or not I should like kind of play the first game somehow in some way or another and then play this. I don't know how story driven these games are and if I'm required to kind of know everything about the first game, but I'd imagine if the port of the sequel and they knew that not anyone outside of Japan would have played the first one, I'm sure it shouldn't matter too much, but I like kind of going through the video games and like seeing how they develop and stuff, especially if they're supposed to all be good. So yeah, I think I'll do that and play the first Sin and Punishment before trying that one. Another childhood classic for me. I originally had part of this game on the PlayStation 2, but just so much content on here. Lego Star Wars, the complete saga, absolutely love it. Ah, here we go, here's the first Poker Park. Top 3 games of all time, this. Super Mario Galaxy. Oh, honestly, I could spend 20 minutes just ranting about it. Well, not ranting, what's the opposite of ranting? Just, I don't know, yeah. Love that, and I also love the sequel. Super Paper Mario. This is the only Paper Mario game I've played, and I did beat it back in the day, and I did really enjoy it, but I've heard it's kind of like wishy-washy in regards to the quality of the Gamecube game, The Thousand Year Door, and the first Paper Mario. So it'd be interesting to go back to those games and try them, but again, extortionate prices, I don't know. Smash Brothers Brawl, much like Galaxy, this was one of the most hyped 4 games ever for me, and yeah, it's got that stupid tripping bullshit, but I still loved it, and the music's so epic. Oh boy, more Wario! Yay! Wario Land, the Shake Dimension, I think it's called Wario Land Shake It Everywhere Else. This is really nice art style. It's like 2D and it's all like hand-drawn animation, so that's cool. Another one of my favourites ever as well, WarioWare Smooth Moves. This was the ultimate party game for me when I had friends and family around. Just so nonsensical, but just amazing. Awesome game. This would again be one of my favourites. Wii Sports Resort. I've got the Wii Sports in there. Awesome game. I just wish I could live on WiiU Island. I wish WiiU Island was a real place. I would love to go there and just chill out and bash people over the head with those like lightsaber looking things. What did I like on here? Table tennis was fun. The frisbee with the dog. The cycling was cool. Oh, the power cruising thing was awesome. Oh man. Archery was cool. Yeah. Amazing, man. You gotta play that. And have you had to play this? This is like a point and click adventure game, and I remember the official Nintendo magazine going on about it a lot. That was like the UK sort of Nintendo thing that you would buy if you love Nintendo, those magazines, which have stopped years ago now. Zack and Wiki, and these are supposed to be really good games. Capcom, didn't know that. They developed it, that's cool. But yeah, look into that game if you want to look into a cool point and click adventure. I've heard it like utilises the Wii remote in really inventive ways too, so yeah, that's cool. So have I got any other Wii games hiding about? Let's have a look. I did actually find some more. My Sins. I actually really enjoyed this. It was only until much later I found out people think it's absolutely terrible, but I had fun with it. The Wii remote, when trying to make things, was really awkward, but I really liked its style. I thought it was cool. Boom Blocks. God, you can get this anywhere for really cheap, but this is a really fun party game. It's basically just Jenga, but you purposely want to destroy the blocks, basically. Deadly Creatures. This is a weird game where you play a tarantula and a scorpion, and it features voices from Billy Bob Thornton of Sling Blade fame and other stuff, and what else has he been in? Fargo, and Dennis Hopper of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 fame. Oh dear. And The Dog Island. Supposed to be a real tearjerker. No, I'm not being sarcastic. It's supposed to be a tearjerker, this game, so that'll be fun. Yeah, I'm sure that's actually all my Wii stuff now. So, next up, Wii U. I don't own a Wii U. The Wii U was what killed my interest in any gaming. I looked at it. I remember being hyped for the trailers that they released for this new Legend of Zelda game, which looked like Twilight Princess 2.0. Oh my god, I just did not care. I did not care. And it seemed like other people kind of felt the same way. A lot of people do not like the Wii U. And I'll be honest, if I got the money, I probably would get a Wii U, because there's plenty of games on there that are still exclusive to the Wii U and haven't been ported over to Switch. A lot of games have been ported to Switch. Not all of them. On the top of my head, I know there's a Kirby game called Kirby and the Rainbow Curse or something that's on there. Yoshi's Woolly World, I'd love to play that. Game and Wario is still on there exclusively. The first Splatoon game's still on there exclusively. What else? There's still quite a few, and then there's like Nintendo Land, those sort of things that are still exclusive to there. Yeah, so there's still quite a few, but I will show you one Wii U game that I won. For £5 I found Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is also a game that has yet to be ported over to the Switch. So literally owning this one game is my incentive of buying a Wii U. So if perchance I find one somewhere in a bargain bin, then I might buy it, but I'm in no rush. I'm in no rush. So after that, we've got my Virtual Boy collection, my Switch. Here's my Switch, and although I've got plenty of Switch games to show you, there's a load of games that I've got that's digital only, so, you know, just bear that in mind. There's probably a few games that I've just bought because there was a sale or something like that. But the Switch is great for that, like getting Neo Geo games, like collections, like the Mega Man collections, and yeah, there's just loads of stuff like that that I love the Switch for. But yeah, so here are the physical Switch games that I won. Animal Crossing New Horizons. My first Animal Crossing experience actually, and really good one. Bravely Default 2. I don't own Bravely Second or the first Bravely Default on the 3DS, but I've heard this is actually supposed to be really good. Supposed to be much better than those games as well. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, really good game. Dragon Quest. I've yet to play a Dragon Quest game, but I thought I'll start with Dragon Quest 11. There's one or two other games that I own by them, but yeah, I think I might start with this one. Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age, originally a PS2 game, but this has a lot of quality of life improvements. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Breath of the Wild. I've yet to fully complete this game, but I think it's safe to say is one of my favourite games of all time. Mario Kart 8. Many people say it's the best. I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but there's just something about going back to playing 64 and other ones. I just think they're better. I don't know. Something about the personality of the new courses, they just feel bland. Is that bad to say? I don't know. Metroid Dread. Do you know what it is? I've yet to play a Metroid game fully either. Other than, sorry, apart from Prime here and there. I tried the NES game and it was awful. And I own Metroid 2, Return to Samus on Game Boy, and it's just, if there's no map, I just can't be bothered. So I'd like to own Super Metroid and start from there, and then probably work my way through, and eventually I'll get to Dread, which I've heard is excellent. Miitopia, originally a 3DS game, just stupid RPG, but awesome for that. I've yet to play this, it's still sealed. Monster Hunter Rise, pretty good deal. New Pokemon Snap, not old Pokemon Snap, new Pokemon Snap. Ni no Kuni, this is a PS3 exclusive, I believe, that was done by Studio Ghibli. It's like a JRPG. No More Heroes 3, I own on the Switch the first two, not on the Wii. But yeah, just ridiculous games. Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Spyro Reignited Trilogy, I think this was the first Switch game I bought. In fact, I bought that before even owning a Switch, because I absolutely adore Spyro. Pokemon Legends Arceus. Rayman Legends, I've yet to open this one either, but I'm looking forward to it because it's supposed to be excellent. Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, I really enjoyed those games, they're really cool. Xenoblade Chronicles, I'm working my way through slowly, and I am really enjoying it, but I don't know, I'm still kind of getting to grips with the combat and learning all the mechanics, and there's a lot to remember. For a tenner, I got a remaster of Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, but it's like a 3D platformer. I'm looking forward to trying that out soon. Smash Brothers Ultimate, obviously. Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. Odyssey, I've yet to beat this, but I'm loving it so far. Tales of Vesperia, this was a PS3 exclusive, I believe, but that's like a definitive edition. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, yet to try that because, you know, it's already a really long game, the first one. It's going to take us a while. I don't mind trying the third one, Jesus. And of course, WarioWare with Get It Together, which I really enjoyed. It was quite short, but I'm just a sucker for all stuff, Wario related stuff. I love the whole other characters that are involved in WarioWare. I love like the Mike the Robot, Ashley, 8 Volt and 18 Volt, 9 Volt. They're just awesome characters. Dribble and Spitz. I just love Jimmy T. I love it, man. I love it. Orbulon. It's just my sort of humour, and I love WarioWare. Here's some Switch games and some super special big packaging as well. This game's weird. Sonic Mania. Shantae. And I think it's the only visual novel game I own physically, Rage and Loop. And it doesn't take itself too seriously, it's like a black comedy horror. Perfect. So yeah, that's my Switch stuff, and that's pretty much all my Nintendo related stuff as well, console wise. So how's about we move on to the technically arch rival, the frenemies, Sega. Let's move on to my collection of Sega related stuff. We're going to be talking about the Sega Master System. And the Master System is something that I definitely neglected and was not at all bothered about until, again, just over the last couple of years or so. when I really love it. Now, this is probably because I found out that my older brothers actually grew up on the Master System. It was their pretty much first console, and the first thing that they really ever played was a game that was bundled with the Master System 2, which was Alex Kidd, and that was basically a mascot before Sonic. And yeah, the Master System, the only problem I can really put to it is just the controller is pretty naff. But in regards to the games, they're really good, underrated. And in terms of the actual Master System, to me at least, I think it looks better than the NES, even though they're both 8-bit. Probably because the Master System, it usually just seems to do colours better. They're quite nice and pastel coloured. So it depends if you like the sort of sharper edges of the NES 8-bit stuff, that's fair enough. But some of the games that I own, I just think look better on the Master System. Now these aren't going to be like, oh yeah, I've heard of this one, I've heard of that one, but please check out some of these games I'm going to be recommending that are in my Master System collection, because I really enjoy them. Now the only loose game that I own on the Master System is another Alex Kidd game, and this is Alex Kidd in Shinobi World. Now Shinobi was basically a ninja game like Ninja Gaiden, and Alex Kidd decided to pop into Shinobi's world, and instead of being sort of a typical 2D platformer that Alex Kidd was originally, it's like a ninja sort of base game, so a lot more action orientated, and it's an excellent game. A lot of people consider this actually the best Alex Kidd game out of about 5 or 6 that were on the Master System and Mega Drive. I'm going to keep saying Mega Drive, by the way, not the Genesis, because it was called the Mega Drive over here. But here are the boxed Master System games that I own. Asterix, a really good 2D platformer. Aztec Adventure, this is quite Zelda 1-ish, but obviously a lot more Aztec themed, but it's actually a pretty good game. And we're going to obviously get into all of the Disney themed stuff that I was mentioning before, especially Mickey Mouse. Now Castle Illusion is a highly regarded game for the Mega Drive, but did you know that not only is the Master System version a lot different, pretty much a different game entirely, but to me, actually prefer the Master System version, because again, it's just a pretty much totally different game. There's actually a lot more to do in the Master System version, it's longer. In regards to the moveset that Mickey has in this game, is not complicated, but there's just more diversity as well. Not putting down the Mega Drive version, it's one of my favourite Mega Drive games, but it's just something to consider. You'd get that a lot, Master System games being brought onto the Mega Drive, and despite it being lower resolution or lower bits, sometimes the creators would basically make an entirely different game, which sometimes would or wouldn't work in its favour, and it worked there. Here's another one, Lucky Dime Caper, featuring Donald Duck. You can get this really cheap, and this is a really good game as well. I don't own the original Fantasy Zone, but does many people know that there's a Fantasy Zone 2, which was actually an expanded, better version of the original Fantasy Zone. This is what I was on about when it comes to the graphics on the Master System. This looks really good to this day. I love this game. It's like a cute 'em up shooter sort of thing, and I just really enjoy the aesthetics. Land of Illusion, this was a Master System exclusive and a really good Mickey Mouse game. Some people love it, some people hate it. Psycho Fox, another 2D platformer. Penguin Land, oh this is great. This is like a puzzle adventure game, and who wouldn't want to play as that little guy? Yeah, it's basically like a game where you control a penguin with an egg, and you have to use your beak to bury down this ground, this sort of cave thing, and you keep pushing the egg further and further down, and there's like monsters and booby traps and stuff that you have to avoid. So again, it might annoy some people, but I really enjoy it. What's cool about this game as well is, wow, it's like Smash Brothers basically. You can actually make and save your own maps and stuff. You can create your own levels, so that's really cool. So yeah, that's really unique. Rastan, I think this was originally an arcade game, and this was really good for the Master System. Shinobi, classic. Many of the Shinobi games would later be released on the Mega Drive, that's the first one. And then we've got the Sonic games, which again, some people might think are just poor man versions of the Mega Drive. But maybe not Sonic 2, but I prefer the Master System version of the first Sonic game, because they're basically totally different games. And there's Sonic 2 for the Master System. And speaking of Sonic, we've also got the one that was purely just for the Master System, Sonic Chaos, and I don't think this was released in America. Some people complain saying it's too easy. I've never thought of that as an issue for me. If the game's good, it's good and enjoyable, and it's a fun time playing this game. I really enjoy it. And then we've also got the Wonder Boy games. Now, I need to step my game up and buy more Wonder Boy games for the Master System, but for now, I have Wonder Boy 3, Dragon's Trap, which this series originally was just a 2D platformer game, but originally it basically ends up turning into a sort of action RPG hybrid, and this is where it goes full action RPG. So maybe I might wait around and play the first couple of games before trying this, but check that out as well. Password save too, pretty unique. And that's my Master System games. Really enjoy the games that I own, and we're going to jump straight into the next generation, Mega Drive. Now again, I had a reason to be hesitant for owning a Mega Drive, but the reason why I ended up getting one is because despite owning a sort of Mega Drive collection thing for the Switch, like a compilation of many games, the emulation, it's not perfect, and at the same time obviously it doesn't have every classic that's on the Mega Drive. I'm not saying I own every other classic that isn't in this collection, but there's still games that I thought were well worth getting, despite owning the collection. And at the same time, you know, it's just cool to own like the physical versions of them. And like I say, the emulation, because of it not being perfect, it's still preferable to play it on the original hardware. So here's the unboxed stuff that I own. That is for the Mega Drive. Now, did you know Battletoads? There's a Genesis Mega Drive version on Battletoads. Many people know it as the notorious difficult NES game, but there's actually a version on the Mega Drive, and it's easier. The turbo tunnel actually didn't struggle with too much on this game. It's just, they made it easier. Graphics are better, so I wonder, people who want to try Battletoads, if you want to play a better version, why not try this? Now, when it comes to Sonic, I own a loose copy of Sonic 2. I don't own a physical one of Sonic 1. I don't know, that game, obviously there's highlights, but it's just got a really bad middle ground, that game, where it's just really sluggish. Later stages are good, the first Green Hill Zone is obviously iconic, but maybe if I see it for cheap, but I'm not that bothered about owning the first Sonic game, to be honest. Here's a classic, Moonwalker, the Michael Jackson game. Oh boy. This is actually quite a fun, very unique game. It's quite repetitive because you're doing the same sort of mission thing throughout the whole thing. The background's changed slightly, but it's still of its time, you know. And we've got another, a Sonic game actually to show you here. Sonic and Knuckles. Now you're thinking that's a weirdly shaped one. Well, what it is that on top of here you're supposed to put the cartridge of Sonic 3, and that's how you create Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which was originally going to be the entire game that Sega was going to release as one piece, but I guess they just couldn't fit it on one cartridge. So you can play them separately, but if you want the full package, then you have to own a copy of Sonic 3 and put it on top of there. And what I was going to quickly say there was also another Disney related stuff. I've got Donald Duck in Mary Mallard, which is Donald Duck not only dressed in a sort of safari gear, but he also becomes a ninja as well. Ninja Donald Duck, why not? But it's actually a really cool game. I really recommend it. So here's the box stuff that I own. Wow. So here's the box Mega Drive. Classic Disney game, Aladdin. Castle Illusion, as I was mentioning before. Absolutely adore that game. Cool Spot. Was Cool Spot even a mascot over in the UK? I don't know, because this was before my time, but it's Sprite, isn't it? I think, or 7-Up. But yeah, I've never seen Cool Spot out and about since. Oh God, Fantasia, Jesus. This is one of those games where I own it, but it's terrible. There's something about this game though. I could talk for ages about this game, maybe one day, but it's a weird one, I'll just say that. Speaking of weird, here's a one. Fix-It Felix. I found this in a cash converters. I was like, what the hell? And yeah, the game that you see when you watch Wreck-It Ralph, someone actually made a full version of that game, Fix and Felix, here. So yeah, recommend it if you like the movie. I don't know, but it's a good game. This is a notoriously difficult game, The Lion King. Another great Mickey game, Mickey Mania. It's not the best version to own it on the Mega Drive. I'd probably like to own it on, I think there's a PlayStation 1 version that's better. And there's even a Mega CD version, but I got that quite cheap, so it's not that big of a deal. Sonic 3, Quackshot, probably the famous Donald Duck game, but I still recommend Maori Ballad. This is a mental game, Strider. I had no idea what I was getting into buying this game, and I played it and I just kept going, what the hell am I playing? But it's a really cool game once you get used to it. Toy Story, one of the last games released on the Mega Drive, very late into its career, and graphics on this are really cool. It's a good game actually overall. I really like Toy Story games, and there's another one coming up when I go into my Xbox collection. And yet another Mickey Mouse game, and technically another Donald Duck game, is World of Illusion 2. So that's my Mega Drive collection. So where we're going to go next? The Saturn? Well, no. Attached to my Mega Drive is the notoriously infamous Sega CD, or what it was known as over here, the Mega CD. Yes, this thing by many is considered to be one of the first instances of Sega just losing the marbles and creating a lot of trash stuff. Now, retrospectively, I think people are warming up a lot more to the Mega CD. There are some classics on here, and compared to the likes of stuff like the 32X, it's just a way better system overall, because it was actually really quite successful. A lot of games were released for it, and yes, a lot of them could be considered rubbish, but not all of them. Now, there's a lot of them that are just ridiculously expensive that I'll just never be able to afford, or just wasn't released over here, like the Lucifer games and Snatcher. However, there is also the ability to burn games, so you could play them that way. So you'd still technically play it on the original hardware, just at a cheaper alternative. Now, there are a few Mega CD games that I own, and I'm going to show you them right now. It's a grand total of 4. Now, other ones that I want to own, yes. For example, before I show you the ones that I do own, one of them that I really want to own actually is Echo the Dolphin, the Sega CD version of that. Now, despite the actual game itself not being much different to the Mega Drive version, it's the soundtrack really. Of course, the CD, it being a CD, it means that the soundtrack to most of these games are excellent, and the soundtrack to Echo the Dolphin is amazing. It's beautiful. I'm sure when it came out, the original Echo the Dolphin, I'm sure that this is what they actually intended the music to be like. So if I find it, I'd like to play that game. So anyways, the games that I do own are Night Trap. This is a classic Mega CD game. Bad, yes, but B-movie like, and that sort of enjoyability factor because of it being like that. Oh yeah. Prince of Persia. This is a classic sort of game, one of those cinematic platformers I think you call, and a very good version on the Mega CD. This I think was bundled in with most Mega CD games, and it's actually a really good one. Mega CD has a lot of these games where basically you would have to like perform an action, press up, left, down sort of thing at the right time or you fail. But this is actually a really good version of that. It's Road Avenger, and I think what makes this good is that it's like animated, because a lot of them they try to do the sort of full motion video thing and it just made it look really choppy. But there's something about it being animated just makes it work a lot better, and the sort of story that goes along with this, it's actually really fun. But what most people should be picking up if they're actually considering getting a Mega CD is this one, Sonic CD. And this is loved by many, and some people think it's a convoluted mess, and I like convoluted messes in games, so I love this. It's one of my favourite Sonic games, really fun. So yeah, that was a quick little short but sweet tour of my Mega CD collection. And yeah, I'm going to be honest, the other Sega related stuff is also going to be quite short and sweet. The reason for that is because I, even though own a few other consoles that were made by Sega, I do not own any physical games for them. Now, the next stop for me would be this, which is the Sega Saturn. Now, the Saturn is basically the one at the moment out of all of the consoles that I'm really interested in trying out. And the reason for this is because, as I mentioned prior, I love 2D based sprite work, and especially around this time when game developers weren't actually trying to make 3D games. If they decided to make a 2D game, it's basically some of the best sprite work you'll ever see. And the Saturn, despite unlike stuff like the, say, 64 and the original PlayStation, often favoured doing 2D style stuff because a lot of fighting games were on here. And because of that, and a few other reasons, the Saturn didn't do very well at all over in the UK, Europe, and the States. However, it done amazingly well in Japan. Now, because of that, it's the reason why I don't own any Sega Saturn games, and I'm looking into, you know, playing the games in a different way. Something called the Saturn, which, although is extremely expensive, it's something where I would be able to plug it into my Saturn and be able to play absolutely any game that I wanted. That is including all of the Japanese exclusive games, of which there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and that's not over-exaggerating. So basically it would equate to working out is actually quite a good deal. So yeah, in terms of aesthetic reasons, I would love to actually own Nights into Dreams, because there's something about that game that's always made us really interested in that sort of thing. I love like ethereal, dreamy looking games, and Nights into Dreams basically hits that on the nail of the head. I'm trying to find it, where is it? Even though I don't own the game, I do own the Sega Saturn 3D controller, which, if you guys haven't seen, is a lot like the Dreamcast controller, but actually better, because that joystick is a lot more comfier than the Dreamcast. So why they kind of took a step forward and 2 steps back with that thing, I don't know. But that was originally packaged with Nights into Dreams, and there's a few other Sega Saturn games you can play with that controller, so yeah, I'd look forward to that. So eventually, in regards to saving up for something specifically game related, a CD is something that I would really like, and there's loads of Saturn games I've found that I would really like to enjoy and play, so yeah, that's my next investment. So yeah, that's the Sega Saturn. And another whistle stop tour, sadly, is going to be the Dreamcast. Where's the Dreamcast? Where's the Dreamcast? It's over here, isn't it? So here is my Dreamcast, and again, I don't own any physical games of it. I've got a really good friend of mine called Tom, who's very kindly lent us games in the past, like the original 2 Shenmue games, and the classic, not really, Blue Stinger. But yeah, in terms of the Dreamcast, this was my real interest originally in getting into Sega stuff. I've got a really good friend who has a Dreamcast, and he got it modded, and that's what I ended up doing, and that's why I don't own any physical ones. So inside here, I've got an SD card. It's about 512 gigs big or something, and I've put on pretty much all of the Dreamcast stuff that I'm really interested in playing. So with the Dreamcast, I was just interested in it because when it was released, it basically equates to like a PlayStation 1.5 in terms of its graphical capabilities. So because of that, I'm not saying it's bad because it's a step down compared to the likes of PlayStation 2, Gamecube, Xbox, but it's because a lot of games that were originally released on the previous gen ported over to the Dreamcast and ended up being the best versions. For example, on the Nintendo 64, I used to own Rayman 2: The Great Escape, which is a great game, but the best version of it is on the Dreamcast. There's also Toy Story 2, which is actually a really good 3D platformer, again for the 64, but I wanted to own it on the Dreamcast. So a lot of these games, these amazing games, like, you know, the Dreamcast was excellent for a lot of things. Don't you just love the name, the Dreamcast? What a cool name. Yeah, so Sega really did go out with a great bang here. Sadly, they didn't make that many games for it because its lifespan only was like 2 years long. but the games that were for it are excellent. So for anyone who wants to get into Sega related stuff, then I would start with the Dreamcast actually, or the stuff like the Mega Drive, because there's just so many underappreciated games on there. Just stuff that's really overlooked and just doesn't exist anywhere else other on the Dreamcast. If you like your RPGs, then try Skies of Arcadia, for example. If you like your platformers, then you've obviously got the sort of infamous Sonic Adventure games. Just everything. It's got stupid invaders, for example. You know, with that fish, the singing fish. That's on the Dreamcast. So get yourself a Dreamcast if you can, definitely. So that's all my Sega stuff. Yeah, I don't think I'll be getting a 32X unless I saw it for like £2. I mean, there are games that I'd like to get for it, don't get us wrong, but so Sega stuff is now over with. We're now going to talk about the PlayStation. It was the good old boy who's been with the family for over 2 decades, my PlayStation 2. And on this is where I play both my PlayStation 2 games and of course the original PlayStation games too. So the original PlayStation was huge in my childhood, and some of the games will be coming up here. And yeah, I love the original PlayStation, just fantastic memories on this thing. One game that I wish I could get back, which has just became really rare, is Jamalami, which is basically created by the same guys who've done Parappa the Rapper, but instead of being rapping it's all electric guitar, and it's even zanier than Parappa the Rapper. One day I'll get it back. But anyways, here's the games that I do own for it. I've got the little £7 deal on here because I literally got this a couple of months ago. And I've kept it just because I'm like, sometimes you still do get decent deals. The original Crash Bandicoot. On here I've actually shoved in a few other Crash Bandicoot games that I own, like Wrath of Cortex, some PlayStation demos, as well as 2 and 3 at the same time too. They're all just been shoved in here. Another classic. Tigger's Honey Hunt? Yeah, why do I own this? Well, not only is it a platformer that I like, but it's actually supposed to be a really creepy game. I'm not joking, listen to the music on it. It's actually unsettling, and there's something about that atmosphere that I really like. Quite cool. Final Fantasy, of course, my sister was huge into Final Fantasy, so all my memories come from her playing it and watching her rage and all sorts. So there's 7, there's 8, and there's a personal favourite of mine, Final Fantasy 9. Then we've got Gex, because who doesn't love Gex? 2 games by him. Yeah, by him, Gex made them himself, yep, he's a multi-talented individual. Then we've got Kudelka. Now this is a JRPG mixed with sort of Victorian Gothic horror. This is like a prequel almost to the PlayStation 2 games that came out called Shadow Hearts. It's a turn-based RPG, and it's a very strange one, I've got to say. It's actually quite a short game despite being on 4 discs. And I think the only issue that I've really got with the game is the lack of characters that you can choose from, and I like the movesets too. But in terms of the story, the voice acting, the graphics for its time, they're actually really good. So if you like your Gothic stuff, then don't overlook Kudelka. Then we've got Medieval, which I really enjoyed, played it quite recently for sort of Halloween sort of thing. Kind of a platformer, but mostly like an action adventure. I can't fault the plot, the humour, graphics for its time, the music, all really, really good. The only issue I have with it is its well, difficulty. The fact that lives aren't really a thing in the game, and there's a lot of one-hit deaths in terms of falling traps and stuff. It's a difficult game, but whatever. And I do own the sequel as well, which I've heard by people is harder. Let's see how we get on. The original Metal Gear Solid, Oddworld, Abe's Exodus, and I think this is the first one, Abe's Odyssey. Pac-Man World, yay! 3D platformer with me mate Pac-Man. Oh my god, speaking of men's, Rayman. This is a childhood classic, and goodness me, what a difficult game. But in terms of the sprite work and the music, oh my god, pure aesthetic, amazing. Sheepdog and Wolf. This is a stealth game featuring Warner Brothers characters from Looney Tunes, and it's excellent. There you go. wow, classic Silent Hill. Genuinely just an amazing horror game. Really recommend this. Even to this day, when you first play the first 10 minutes, wow, like really unsettling, and just the soundtrack's excellent. Well, Silent Hill 2's got excellent soundtrack, of course, but in terms of like atmosphere, the first one's just where it's at. And there's some music in here which is generally like noise, and you're just like, where would you get that in like a big franchise? Just like actually noise music. So that's really cool. We've got Tomb Raider. My dad was huge into Tomb Raider back in the day, so I own like, I think there's Tomb Raider 2, Tomb Raider 1's inside there, Tomb Raider 3's here. I know there's a few others, but those are the ones I own. And this is the childhood game for me, Spyro the Dragon. And I've shoved in a few other Spyro games in here, such as Spyro 2 and 3, which I need to own separate copies of them, which I love. What else is in here? Oh dear. Oh dearie me. Probably the biggest childhood disappointment I've ever had, Spyro Enter the Dragonfly. Oh boy, what a shame. But never mind, the original trilogy, just absolutely fantastic. So that's the PS1 stuff, and now for the PS2. I'm going to try and go through the PS2 stuff much quicker, because I think it's rivaled with the Wii as the most games that I own for a system. So forgive us for that, but like I've said before, if you want to know more about these games, just look them up or just ask us in the comment section. I really need to own Escape 1 on the PS1 and 2 for the PS2, but anyways, I own 3. Beyond Good and Evil, great game. Classic arcade racing game, Burnout 3. Awesome game. Devil May Cry. Skipped 2 and went straight to 3, which I haven't played yet. Disgaea. These are interesting comedy turn-based RPG games. That's the first one that was released. I've yet to play this actually, but I'm looking forward to it, even though I'm sure it's not a masterpiece. Ed and Neddy The Misadventures. It's a 3D platformer with Ed and Neddy. I've already mentioned that I love Ed and Neddy, so that'll be awesome. I've yet to play this one actually, Forbidden Siren, but looking forward to that. I'll definitely play that around the Halloween period. Freak Out. This game is mental. Genji. This is sort of a hack and slash sort of game, but a very historical Japanese based sort of game, but really nice graphics and music, and that's really good. Gitaru Man. Basically scratches the itch that people all have if they love Jamalami and stuff. It's definitely got the same sort of sense of humour. San Andreas, of course, we got it on that. Gregory Horror Show, survival horror based on a cartoon series that never even came out over here, and yet the game did. Strange. Eco, absolute classic. Then we've got the Jack and Daxter games. So 1, 2, 3. Oh my goodness. The memories I've got of the trailers watching Kingdom Hearts and Chain of Memories and 2. I just used to get so hyped on Nickelodeon Cartoon Network, hoping that the adverts would come on because of Sanctuary being played, and oh my god, the memories of that's just amazing. And about 6 or 7 years ago I finally played them, and I loved Kingdom Hearts. There's 2. Klonoa. I haven't played this one yet, Klonoa 2, but I have played the first Klonoa and loved it. And people think this is even better, so I cannot wait to play that. Maximo. If people are familiar with the Ghosts and Goblins or Ghouls and Ghosts series, then they should try out Maximo. Capcom based and very similar in style and difficulty. They actually made a sequel, Maximo Army of Zin. Before or after or during, I'm not very good with dates, whilst we'll just say Rockstar were making stuff like Bully and Manhunt and Grand Theft Auto. They had a really good racing arcadey sort of series called Midnight Club, and this is the best one, Midnight Club 3 Dub Remix. Okami. Legend of Zelda-ish, but feudal Japan, sort of aesthetic really cool. Pac-Man World 2. I don't own 3 because I've heard it's supposed to be weirdly bad, but who knows. Project Zero, I've played all of this. There's a huge difficulty spike in this game, and then like the very ending of it gets so much easier because it's got like health stuff here and there. It's hard to describe, but like, you imagine in a survival horror you need health, right? And there's only so many health kits you can pick up. There's absolutely no health kits in a certain chapter of that game, and it makes you have to reset it all the time, so you cannot get hit once. And then at the very end, it just gives you abundance where you're like, I don't need all of these. That annoyed us, but atmosphere, all that's great with the game. And I do own 2, which I've heard is the best one. I'd love to get 3, but it's pretty pricey. Ratchet and Clank. I've never played Ratchet and Clank before until like last month, so finally enjoyed that. I'm wanting to get the trilogy, which is like a HD remaster of the first 3, but I've heard the first Ratchet and Clank 1 on the trilogy is supposed to be a bit so that's why I own that, and because it's only the first 3, I own Ratchet Gladiator, which is the 4th one. I think it's called Deadlocked or something in the other parts of the countries. Rayman 3. Resident Evil 4. Amazing game. Road Trip Adventure. RPG with cars in it. It's better than you think it sounds. Scalar. Dodgy 3D platformer, which is my favourite genre. Because you've got platformers, but are they dodgy? Shin Megami Tensei. I've yet to play any Persona or anything like that, so I thought that might be a good start. If it's not, then whatever. Of course, Silent Hill 2, amazing game. I've yet to play these ones though, Silent Hill 3 and Silent Hill 4. So looking forward to playing these eventually, especially for The Room, which is supposed to be the scariest out of the first 4, so that's cool. Shadow of the Colossus, this is pretty much one of the only recent good deals other than that Crash Bandicoot game I've ever got. There you go, you can say that, £1. That was like a couple of years ago, so yeah, actually got lucky there. Instead of charity shops just looking up and going, let's just charge the same amount everyone else is. Like, the whole point and fun of going into a charity shop is seeing if you can get a good deal. Like, I know part of it's to help the cause that they're based around, but come on, people go there to get a good deal, don't they? So what is the point of... I've seen it before. I've went into shops and they've got like boxed Pokemon games for the Game Boy Advance and they're charging like £100 plus a piece, and it's like, what is the point? Whatever. Anyways, when I was talking about Shadow Hearts, here are the Shadow Hearts games. I think this is all of the Shadow Hearts games. There's the first one. There's Covenant, which people think is the best. And here's a really strange one called From the New World. Do you know what I think? I think Shadow Hearts kind of has the same trajectory as The Evil Dead, where it starts off serious and then just gets more absurdist as it goes on. It's true, if you look into it. Here's another childhood game, The Simpsons Hit and Run. How do you know that I've played it a lot? Probably because I own 3 copies of it, because 2 of them got played to bits and they don't work anymore. That's how much. Yeah, so I like that game, if you can't tell. And here's a game that I totally missed out on. I bought so many shit SpongeBob games when I was growing up, and I just overlooked this game. I missed out the good one, obviously, Battle for Bikini Bottom. Damn it. Oh well, better late than never. Time Splitters 2. Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. Is it Oogie's Revenge? Yep, this is actually technically a sequel to the film, which is quite cool. There's a few games like that, you know, like, not so much sequels, but like sort of, not even spin-offs, but like sort of differentiations on the movie timeline and stuff. Like there's a Scarface game like that, there's a Godfather game like that. I always find that kind of cool. Here's some more PS2 games that I found. Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. Me and my best friend used to play this all the time. Simpsons Road Rage, not a bad game. I used to spend a lot of time in the sort of Sunday driving bit where you could just do whatever you want, run people over, explore the town, run people over. Mostly the latter. Spyro: A New Beginning, very underrated game. I actually really enjoy this game. However, Oh boy, I did play this game over here very recently. The sequel, The Eternal Night. Terrible game. It's bad game. And Dawn of the Dragon, the trilogy, the third one, which is on PS3 and Xbox 360. I'll play it. I hope it goes better than this, because that was a tough one to play, honestly. Under the Skin. Yep. I think you can kind of tell what sort of wacko game that is. Vex. Another dodgy 3D platformer. You've got to own a Katamari game, so we love Katamari. Yeah. Oh yeah. So, 1, PlayStation 2. Oh yeah, PlayStation 3 next. PlayStation 3. This is actually the latest console I've got. Yeah, the PlayStation 3, I've always known it as that expensive console, because I remember when I was in primary school and it came out and I couldn't believe how expensive it was. Like, that was back when I got £3 a week pocket money. Can you tell how much that would take for me to save up for one of those things? But luckily I found one for £40 recently, and I thought that was a good enough deal. So yeah, I did originally own an Xbox 360 before this, and because of that I thought, well, because I've got all of these same generation games, is there any real need? Is there actually that many exclusives on the PS3? Well, yeah, there is. And I don't own everything, once again, that I'd want for the PS3, but here are the ones that I do own. Here's Disc Gear 3 and Disc Gear 4. Disc Gear 2 I actually own on Steam, and that's another thing, guys. Can you imagine us going through my Steam collection? Oh, goodness me. We'd be here, I was going to say all day, I'd say all week actually, all week. Folklore, I've been playing this recently. Yeah, its aesthetics are amazing, very sort of dreamy qualities to this. I love the soundtrack. The plot's interesting, it's almost like a detective sort of thing. But yeah, there's parts of it where I was kind of getting a bit sick of. Some of the boss are not the best bosses, but I'll go back to it soon, I'm sure. Heavenly Sword. This is a cool collection. It's just called Journey, but this contains Floor, the game Journey, and Flower. So 3 kind of short games, but all considered classics, especially Journey, on a disc. Infamous. I don't own the first one, but I've heard the sequel, Infamous 2, is the best one, so bought that. I think you're supposed to actually play the first one because it plays a lot plot-wise, but whatever. Little Big Planet, of course, you've got to own that, as well as the sequel. And it was on to recently, I didn't know Stephen Fry did the narration, that's cool. Another classic I must own, Metal Gear Solid 4. There's a series which I discovered recently called Motorstorm, and I was like, so they get more nuts as the games go on? Well, I want the most nuts one, and this is apparently the most nuts, Apocalypse. More Ratchet & Clank. I'm aware that there's quite a lot of PS3 games, a lot of PS3 Ratchet & Clank games, but I've heard these are the best ones. Tools of Destruction and A Crack in Time. Resistance, another series that was exclusive to the PS3, but again, I've heard this is the best one, so I'm really only interested in this one, Resistance 3. I'm going to butcher this name, Sengoku Basara Samurai Heroes. I was like, oh, it's a Capcom game, and I think it's only for PS3, I'll buy it. I think it's supposed to be good. And then there's the Tales games. You know, I showed Tales of Vesperia before. So here is Tales of Graces F and Tales of Xillia. Look at the bloody artwork on that, it's gorgeous. Yeah. So yeah, that's the PS3 stuff. Now for PS4, oh no, I don't own a PS4 or a PS5. Yeah, anything that's like existed within the last 10 years I just don't own, apart from the Switch, honestly. Again, it's the space. When I was talking about the CRT television, it's the same with getting a nice new big 4K television to play the new consoles. There's just no point. I've got so many games here to play anyways up to that stage if I was to ever get my own place and get a new TV and stuff. I'm just in no rush for that sort of thing, you know, so maybe it's one day, but for now, yeah, I'm not that bothered about getting a PS5, and obviously if I got one I'd be able to play PS4 games on it. And then there's the space of having the games as well. For now I'm fine. No, not the purposely rush things or anything, because I am enjoying this, but I'm running out of battery on here, and I think you guys are probably running out of patience. Are you? Are you enjoying this? I don't know. So my next little series is going to be going through the Microsoft Xbox. So my collection of OG Xbox and Xbox 360 stuff. There's still plenty to go through here, but I really want to wrap this up soon. So here is the OG Xbox collection. Speaking of which, here is this massive beast that is the Xbox. I got this guy for a grand total of £20. I got lucky on eBay. The people were like, oh, we don't know if it works or not. We don't have like the power cable or something. And I had a look around and I was like, do I have anything that fits this? And funnily enough, of all things, the charger for the PS Vita fits this. So I was like, oh, does it work? Lights up. I had to give it a cleaning, but sure enough, booted up Halo. Works no bother. So that was pretty cool. As well as that, when I was trying to find a controller for the thing, because it didn't come with a controller, I went to a local CEX. And because the original Xbox controllers, like the original Xbox controllers, are just, they're naff. I wanted to get one just because I used to play them all the time and I used to go to like indoor play areas and stuff. But realistically, I don't want one. I wanted the revision. I didn't know they'd done a revision of one. So yeah, I ended up getting one. And when I went to CEX, they were like, "Oh, are you bothered about it being this colour?" And I was like, "Yeah, a match. It's fine by me." So yeah, this is a much better alternative version of the controller. And in regards to the Xbox original games, it's funny because I almost treat it like what the successor to the Dreamcast would have been, because you'll find that there's a lot of sequels to games that were released on the Dreamcast that ended up coming on the original Xbox. As well as them getting Rare as well, which was quite funny. You know, Rare the publishers, so they ended up having, you know, stuff like eventually a new Banjo and Kazooie game and a remake of the first Conker game. Strange stuff. But also we get a sequel to the Jet Set Radio, which is a beloved game on the Dreamcast. I only actually own the manual and the disc, funnily enough, but here is Jet Set Radio Future, which is also a beloved game. So one day I might find someone selling just the box, nothing else, who knows. Alien Hominid, classic. I actually used to play this on the Gamecube. Call of Cthulhu, weird survival horror sort of thing, kind of akin to Eternal Darkness. Crash Twinsanity, oh my god. People think that game deserves a remake with everything that the developers would originally want to put in, who were rushed. It's still a good game, but it's missing a lot of content that should have been in, which is such a shame. Because everyone just thinks after the trilogy and Nevi's Crash Tag Team Racing, Crash just never had a good game afterwards. Obviously we've got the brand new ones that Toys for Bob are doing, but we want a remake of that. Now that would be awesome. Crazy Taxi, speaking of stuff like Dreamcast. Dreamcast had 1 and 2, and here's Crazy Taxi 3. Crimson Skies, sort of adventure sort of game. Rare, I was mentioned before, here's Grabbed by the Ghoulies. Halo, obviously, and Halo 2, a nice steelbook. Jade Empire, must be one of the better games. Manhunt. This is multi-platform, but I just thought Xbox is edgy, so I'm going to get it on the edgy system, this edgy game. More Sega, Outrun 2. More Sega, as I mentioned before, Panzer Dragoon Order. A weird game here, The Thing. I think this is actually as like a sequel to the first Thing, or maybe it's a prequel actually. I think it might be a prequel. But yeah, actually supposed to be a good survival horror game. Time Splitters 3, Time Splitters Future Perfect. And my best friend was telling us about that game because he said there's a character that goes, "Someone's pinched me winkles." And I was like, well, I'm gonna buy that game just from that one line alone. And there is an octopus thing that says that. Awesome. Voodoo Vince attempted a 3D platformer, which is a strange one. And what about Whacked? A weird attempt at a game show sort of thing. All I'll say is, you see her, yeah, she doesn't actually wear that. What does she wear? No, it's alright. So that's the original Xbox stuff. Now for 360. 360 is currently hooked up to my other television, so I'm sorry, I'm being a bit lazy, I'm not going to get it. But I will say I used to own the original 360, like the massive chunky white one, and for really cheap, like something like £30 again this year. I got lucky and found a 500 gig version of the Xbox 360E, which was like the last revision that they'd done. I had to do some cleaning on it because it was covered in paint for some reason, like white splotches of paint. I hope it was paint. So that took some cleaning, but it works perfectly, so that was a good deal. And yeah, I want a ton of Xbox 360 stuff, so this is the last mountain I'm going to climb for this video, definitely. Yes, most people say if there's a PS3 version or an Xbox version, go with the Xbox version because the load times are quicker. I never really thought of that, it was just because I had a 360 beforehand. And there are some exclusives on the 360, definitely, most of which I've tried to get, at least the ones that are considered good. So yeah, let's just jump into it. Kai Katana, a bullet hell game made by Rising Star Games, who have came up a few times in this video. Alan Wake, the original one. I know there's a remaster version, but whatever. Alice Madness Returns, a 3D platformer slash sort of horror, psychological horror thing. The original one was for PC, I think. Alpha Protocol, I think this is a Sega game, yeah. So it'd be really cool. A mental Capcom game, Ashura's Wrath, which would be absolutely nuts. The first Bayonetta game. Gotta have more Katamari, so here's beautiful Katamari. More Sega with Binary Domain. I haven't talked much about fighting games either, so here's BlazBlue Continuum Extended. Some people say it's like a sort of poor man's version of stuff like Guilty Gear, but whatever. Awesome game, that's Blur. Amazing sort of like atmospheric racing game. Borderlands 2. Where's my Call of Duty? You've got to own some COD. Well, I own one Call of Duty game, Black Ops 2. I'm not a connoisseur of Call of Duty, to be honest, so if people consider that a good one or a bad one, I don't know. Whatever. Catherine. That's a weirdo game. You've got to have a Kinect. I do own a Kinect, so what's a good game for the Kinect? Child of Eden. That's a good game for the Kinect. Really cool. Classic horror game by Sega, Condemned. One of the oldest games for the 360, but it's a really good one. Dante's Inferno, awesome game. The Darkness, I think there's a sequel to this as well, isn't there? This is like a horror black comedy sort of thing. I think again one of the early 360 titles. Dead Rising Collection, this is 1, 2 and the DLC for Horizon 2 called Off the Record. So stupid fun games. Dead Space, I've yet to play any Dead Space games, so I'm looking forward to that because I've heard they're horror classics. I do love me horror games, so looking forward to that. I'm already prepped to play Dead Space 2 as well. Death Smiles Deluxe Edition. This is another shoot 'em up bullet hell sort of thing by Rising Star Games. This comes with a soundtrack and stuff as well, so that's pretty cool. Devil May Cry 4, Dodonpachi Resurrection. That is another Rising Star bullet hell game. Driver San Francisco. There were so many shit Driver games, and this is easily the best one. Look into it. It's Driver with a twist, I'll say that. Elder Scrolls Oblivion. I've yet to play any Elder Scrolls game, not even Skyrim or anything. I own Morrowind on PC. Obviously own that. Yeah. Maybe I'll start with Morrowind, and just the amount of jokes and memes I've seen of Oblivion, I already love it and I haven't even played it. Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Never really got into the Far Cry series, but I own Far Cry 3. Here's a classic, Fear. Pretty hard game as well, I've got to say. Xbox are known for the Forza series, so I thought why not pick up one of them. So I got Forza Motorsport 4. Gears of War, this is a chunky beast. This is Gears of War 1, 2, and there's actually Gears of War 3 inside here too. That's pretty cool. Grand Theft Auto, of course we've got to talk about that. So this is Grand Theft Auto 4 with episodes of Liberty City, so that's like all the DLCs and stuff. Halo 3 and Halo Reach. Classic games. A mental game again, a Lollipop Chainsaw, but a fun one definitely. Xbox is definitely not known for its RPGs, JRPGs and such, but it is known for this one, Lost Odyssey. Mass Effect Trilogy. And another collection here, the Metal Gear Solid HD collection, which has loads of them. It has 2, 3, Peace Walker, which is a PSP game, and I think you can actually play the first couple of NES games on here as well, so that's really cool. Mini Ninjas are actually really fun action-adventure 3D platformer. Metal Gear Rising, with one of the best soundtracks ever. Is a classic. Mirror's Edge, that's a really cool game. 3D platform, I guess you would call it. Nier, I really need to get Nier Automata. I don't even know, but yeah, I've got that one at least. Red Dead Redemption, of course. Resident Evil 5. I've yet to play it, but I've heard a lot of people say it was quite underrated. I've heard a lot of complaints about it. I think people are warming up for that game, so why not? I think I got it for like 50 pence. I think this is supposed to be a mental game. Shadows of the Damned. From what I remember, I think the creators of that game they didn't get to do everything that they wanted to do, but it's still quite a good game. Singularity is another cool game. Sonic Generations. Spec Ops: The Line. This is really up my alley. This sort of thing. This sort of like weird postmodern take on a first-person shooter, or just something that's typically popular, with a sort of psychological horror sort of mix to it. I love that sort of stuff. This is Disney, I think. I think Disney made this game, Split Second, which is again another awesome arcade racer. Coming to the last of it, I was mentioning Toy Story, and here's another actually good 3D platformer, Toy Story 3. Another great Sega game, Vanquish. Oh, well, this was the game that I wanted to originally play when I was a kid, Viva Pinata. And the sequel, which I didn't even know existed, Trouble in Paradise. And you want another great Connect game? Well, it's great depending on your sense of humour. You star in the movies 2! Think of the weird stuff you can do when you're in The Wizard of Oz and The Godfather, and oh goodness me, it's all about your imagination. So it's either going to be terrible or a classic. Oh my god, that's everything. Well, apart from one thing, I did want to show this. I haven't got any of the mini stuff because I want the actual consoles, but I've always been interested in trying out TurboGrafx 16, or what we called it over here, the PC Engine Core Graphics. So I do own the mini version of this, and this comes with a lot of games. I think it's like 50 or so. And on here, there's a lot of fantastic stuff, because I like my shooters, so there's a lot of stuff on that. And just occasionally I like to get it out and just play. I like to get it out and play with it. It sounds bad. Like I was playing a game called, I think it was called Psychosis or something. And that was like a shooter, but just some of the stuff that you were shooting in that was just nuts. But there's a lot of cool games on here, like Rondo of Blood, which is one of the most respected Castlevania games. There is actually Snatcher on here, but sadly it's the Japanese version, so you can't follow the plot unless you know Japanese. But a lot of great games, like a few Bomberman games on here. There's the Bonk games on here as well. So yeah, this is worth picking up, but I think it's actually getting quite hard to find. I think it's out of print now, so if you find this, I would recommend it. Because it just wasn't that big, I don't think, over here. Yeah, and the games are quite rare too. Oh my god guys, I'm going to have to stop it there. I think I'll have to do a separate video talking about my handheld stuff, but I think we've covered a lot there, a hell of a lot. So I want to thank you guys for watching, if you've watched all of this, even if you've skipped parts or whatever, just thank you for watching, I appreciate it. I hope you guys had, or are having, or going to have a great Christmas, and I really appreciate once again for you watching. I'm tired from that, but please stick around. I'll make another video where I focus on my handheld collection. Things have fallen all over the place, and this is going to take us a few hours just to clean all of this up. But it's been worth it, because yeah, I've really enjoyed this. So thanks again everybody. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.